All right. Hello, everyone. I am Richelle Wright, and as always, joined with Joanne Buford. And in case you haven't met us before, we are your weekly hosts of NextOppSocial. So, NextOppSocial is a weekly discussion platform where you can listen, learn, and consume actionable content to launch, build, and grow and scale your business. And we explore new topics every week and interview entrepreneurs throughout the Detroit Metropolitan Area, sharing insights regarding various subjects, important business strategies, success mindsets, and tools that can help you level up in your business endeavors. We bring you content for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs, sharing their invaluable experiences and wisdom. As entrepreneurs ourselves, we are invested in helping build up the business community here in Detroit and featuring both budding and established entrepreneurs alike, everyone from multimillionaires, subject matter experts, CEOs, best-selling authors, and some of the brightest minds in business. But today we are talking about focus and productivity. It's timely. Last week we had our 1-year episode, and we talked a lot more then about the pandemic and COVID that accelerated and pushed us to transition this NextOppSocial idea to this platform. And while COVID hasn't disappeared or gone away, vaccines are rolling out, especially here in Michigan. People are anxious to get outside, not relive the summer of 2020. The CDC has said those with vaccines are safe to travel. So our world and daily lives are looking like they're going to fall into another transition, right? And another new normal as we make our way through this year. And with that, we've also, it sparked a conversation, right? We had a little bit off air last week and then a little bit a few days ago on how the hell do we stay focused, especially as business owners. We've had to transition and shift and pivot and all the fun words over the past year. We definitely, I know you and I both, even between us and the people we speak to, we don't see people in the entrepreneurial world, people who have a lot of time on their hands all of a sudden. If anything, schedules are more packed because we're doing a lot technically more efficiently, more digitally, but the expectations of what we're trying to accomplish have increased. So, the weather's nice. We want to go outside, we want to socialize, we want to see our family and friends, we want to go out to eat, we want to do more of the other downtime things or some of even our business things in person. Who has that time anymore, right? So we're going to have to shift again, right? And especially at a time when so many business owners are tired, they're burnt out, they need a break. We're now expected to kind of bring this old hustle mentality back up again. So with that, Joanne, I'm going to pass it over to you with some thoughts because I know you've been thinking about it.
Yeah, and I guess my desire to broach this topic here on NextOppSocial was solidified. It was cemented with a discussion I had with Danko from Very Detroit, right? He invited me to participate in a radio show he's hosting on Mondays. And we didn't have a script or anything. Out the blue, he just asked me, what is it that entrepreneurs need to do to stay focused, especially given the fact that quarantine conditions, as you alluded to, are being lifted. And of course, you have that degree of fatigue. And, put me on the spot like that, it kind of forced me to talk about what was right at the top of my head. And, what I've been thinking about lately that's been top of mind is the fact that, look, the quarantine conditions are ending, but there's a lot of disruption still taking place in the marketplace. There's, we know what's going to happen to the whole housing market sooner or later. It's going to happen. And what happens to the housing market has an impact on everything, right? There's going to be a market adjustment. Right now, prices are off the chain. People are paying $200,000 for $80,000 homes. That rate of return and that type of situation just can't last indefinitely. And it's going to create even more disruption in the marketplace. So as an entrepreneur, you want to take a moment to take a breath, but you also are acutely aware of the fact that it's during times of disruption in which you can make the most headway, right? But once again, like you said, it's that balance, right? It's getting sunny outside. People are heading to the coffee shops, heading to the bars, the restaurants, planning their vacations when at a time when they actually should be doubling down. And so, a couple things, I guess, that I would encourage people to do if you're really trying to take aim at staying focused and not getting lost right in this moment. And the first is, tried and true. Sit down and look at your values, look at your goals for the year, right? The bottom line is, I think there was a report that I shared months ago about how the average, scientist says that we have about 80,000 thoughts, right, over the course of a day, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. We think about things 80,000 different times, right? And over 80% of them are negative, right? It's the BS.com that we deal with, right? I tell people all the time, when you come on entrepreneurs, your challenges don't go away, okay? Disappointments, being upset, people pissing you off, whether it be spouse or significant other, whatever the case may be, these things happen all day, every day. And you have to make sure that you're putting yourself in a space where you are continually putting positive things in your headspace. You are what you eat. Guess what? You are what you think too. You're the first to hear the words that fall from your lips. Mm-hmm. So, what are the things that are you exposing yourself to, right? And I would encourage people, number one, first and foremost, to have a journal, man. I don't care if it's a little tiny notepad or a notebook or your appointment book, but have somewhere written down where you can see your goals, you can see your affirmations, the things that you said were most important to you, whether it be over the course of the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years. Make those things omnipresent in your life, right? Because if you're having that many negative thoughts, you have to offset those things. You have to offset those distractions. And one of the best ways to do that is to make sure you're looking at the things that matter most to you, right? Attention is like the sun. What you focus it on grows. What you neglect in terms of your focus withers away. And so you got to make sure these things are first and foremost in your mind. Like, I tell people positive thinking and being focused is skilled trade. Like, we don't come out the womb like that, right? That's not how it happens. It's something that you have to practice. It's not going to happen for you overnight if you haven't exercised these muscles before. It's not going to happen over the course of a week. It may not even happen over the course of a month for you. You know what they say, takes 60 to 90 days for something to become a habit. Well, it's going to be the exact same thing, but you have to get the process started because the distractions are abound, right? Whether it be social media, whether it be constant negative news, if you're watching the news 24/7, and some people use social media as their news, right? Your family and friends and loved ones are going to be encouraging you to go out and hang out at a time when, quite frankly, you need to be doubling down, right? These are some of the things I think about right off the top of my head. And of course, we're moving into the second quarter of the year, right? Mm-hmm. This is the time where you should be evaluating your values and the things that you said matter most to you to begin the quarter, and find out whether or not there's congruence between how you've been spending your time, your activities, your behaviors. Are you on track to meet your goals? We're going to blink and the second quarter is going to be done.
Yeah.
Right. Because like you said, we're already running 100 miles per hour already. You're literally going to blink and the second quarter is going to be done. And now you're behind the 8 ball because you're behind in all your goals and objectives. So now is a good time to really take inventory of those things and double down and focus. Right. And I have a grocery list of some other things too, but I'm gonna take a breath for Shelly and hear your feedback.
Well, and I think this transitions well to one of my points, which is with that reflection is understanding like, okay, what is working for you now, right? What is working well for your schedule now? What is working well for your productivity now? What's working well for your focus now? Okay. And figuring that out and then looking at everything else and identifying why aren't those other things working well, right? Because I think, especially in this past year and especially moving now into, Q2 of this year, what worked for you before may not work for you moving forward. That's going to always be true in all aspects of life all the time. But this is really, I think, a crucial time to rethink if you've just been doing things for the sake of doing things to keep things afloat, or it's because you always did them that way, or if now you need to shift and adjust because, I would say too, if you're someone who has been working nonstop, you haven't had a break, you feel like you're about to hit that burnout, and truthfully, we don't all have the luxury of just being like, okay, then I'm going to take a break. Right. So if you're in that position where it's like, I can't keep going this way, but I can't create this, I'll just take this, few weeks, a month break or whatever from business. It's really important to refocus of like, how do I shift what I'm doing to fit into the mold of what I absolutely need right now for myself? Because, like, for example, the processes or times that you've been working maybe need to adjust and shift. I know I talked to Joanne about this last week, that I am on a mission to start making sure I'm waking up at 5, working by 5:30, and working pretty much nonstop till like 11, right? 11 or 12, almost to the point, or like around 11. I'll give it that time. I need to be working when most people are either sleeping, getting their morning ready, not really focusing on needing me or needing my attention yet. Because the second someone does, it's not that I need to know my own faults. Just to be transparent, I am someone who, if someone needs my attention, I don't just drop everything, but I do want to give that attention and have the time for that without feeling like I have all the stuff I got to get done weighing on me, right? So, but that's something I've never really done. That's not something, that wasn't something that process or a habit I had before. But truthfully, this process that I've had now, it's not going to work for me moving forward. I have to shift it. I have to change it. So, this experiment of pandemic life, I think, has definitely, it should have made things very apparent to you of what is working and what is not. And now is a great time to start implementing some of those things if you can, really see what needs to shift and change.
Yeah, and I celebrate that. I really do. I've been a huge fan of waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning for a lot of different reasons. And you hit the nail on the head. Number one, like you said, it allows you to curate your own thoughts, right? As opposed to everyone else's or the world's agenda becoming your agenda. It allows you to kind of set the agenda for your day. Also, that can be a time of rejuvenation, right? That quiet time, whether you have children, spouse, clients, et cetera, that quiet time. Like if you're looking for time to rebalance yourself, if you're looking for a mental break, right? Because for most of us, when we talk about taking a break, it's usually psychologically and emotionally we're drained, right? That time in the morning is just invaluable. For me, I'm a huge proponent of this. I read books, I consume podcasts. I'm on YouTube sparingly looking at content, but I just don't believe any one person or one industry has a monopoly on good ideas, right? And so oftentimes when I'm in a rut, of course, I'm doing a self-evaluation, right? I'm identifying issues, having discussions with other people whose opinions I trust, or even having an internal discussion with myself, trying to solve problems. But I listen to these podcasts. I listen to content from other entrepreneurs who achieved success and I'm taking aim at above and beyond that because I want to know what they're doing, right? I want to be exposed to new ideas. I want to be exposed to new ways of operating, marketing, how to manage capital and manage finances. I want to get that information so I can pivot and make the adjustments, because I just firmly believe there's nothing really new underneath the sun, right? Most of everything that we wish to accomplish has already been done by someone else. And you're going to find that information either in a book, you're going to find that information nowadays, of course, in online content. You just have to be willing to seek it out, right? So your solutions are out there. And the morning is a great time, once again, to get that done, right? To take those mental notes, to take those physical notes, right? To take inventory of the previous week, to take inventory of the previous day, and ask yourself, what are the most important things I can do today to achieve my vision, to achieve the goals I've set forth? Once again, absent the noise, because that's what really makes you fatigue. What makes you fatigue is when the previous tasks that you didn't achieve the previous day or week start to pile up in your mind.
Exactly.
Because not only are you thinking about what transpired a day or a week ago, but now you're focused on today and you're also thinking about tomorrow, right? That fatigues you. What fatigues you is unsolved problems, right? Issues that have come up that you keep putting off to the back burner because you're so focused on the urgent, you can't deal with the important, right? And that 5 a.m. wake up until the world starts to wake up around 8 a.m., you can use that 3 hours to address those issues. You can eat the frog, right? So to speak, first thing in the morning. And that way your mind is clear. You're settled. You're not stressing out about stuff that happened previously, right? You can take aim and be present today. And so I'm a huge fan of that. I mean, if you can't tell, I can go on and on and on. That's when I get my best work done, in terms of meditation, taking information, working out. And, I'm a little bit of, I guess, a maniac, right? I go from 5 until 1, and then I hit the hard pause. But
yeah, whatever that works. Maybe it isn't
yeah.
the morning for you. Maybe your mornings are crazy and you cannot, allow any more time. Otherwise, we're now getting into the previous day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, maybe it is that chunk of time in the afternoon. Maybe it is the evening, right? I know that that chunk of time might look different for everyone.
Yep.
But I want to just, if you're someone who is, if you're someone like me, right, who is always like, oh, I'll do that this evening. I'll do that when everything's quiet. I'll do that whenever, everything's slowed down. I was thinking my quiet time was mostly the evening to get that focus and whatnot done. Mm-hmm. But I discount the fact that I am also exhausted. Right. So if you're someone who's like, oh, I'd rather do it in the evening, I would really ask you to reflect. Are you actually efficient in the evening all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is usually a time our bodies are tired. We're also tired. Right. And yes, we can push through and we can get stuff done and whatnot. But it might, again, a good time to reflect. Like, are these habits that you've had, are they going to work for you moving forward? I think another one too that I had just on the tip of my tongue, and I'm almost afraid that I lost it here, is, as things shift, right? As things are opening up, as people are wanting to meet in person, as people, and you're starting to see, I heard a lot from friends, family, but also a lot of business owners who are, it almost has nothing to do with the fact that it's COVID or a pandemic or a virus, right? It's the fact that but there's a lot of people who are not interested in going into the crazy hustle that they were living pre-pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they might be very busy now. Yes, they might have a lot of things going on, but these digital conveniences that have now become normal, they don't want to, like Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings are 10 times more efficient for me than having to drive all over to go meet people. Yes, there is power there. I believe there's power in seeing people and interacting with people in person as opposed to just the computer. But for me to go back to this, I got to meet everybody in person, that I just can't even imagine that anymore. And that doesn't really serve me anymore. So if you need someone to give you permission of it's okay to still stick to some of this digital life, it is okay. And to honor that, especially, I think everyone's going to have to try and find a different balance around that as well.
Yeah. No, I'm frank and I'm adamant. I'm not going back.
Right. Yeah, Joanne's not doing it. Also.
No, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back to hour and 30-minute drives to arrive at a restaurant, at a cafe, or even on somebody's porch, whether it be their office or residence, and they're 15, 20 minutes late. I'm not going back to that. Right. I do believe there's value in shaking hands, eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly, and you exercise your judgment in terms of that. But in terms of like simple transactions, simple communiques, things like that need to happen. Oh no, Zoom, email, if that's where it's happening, right? Just because, once again, time is money, right? Time is money. And also gas, also wear and tear on the vehicle, particularly if you're driving through Detroit Metro, let's be real. I mean, there are certain areas where it's like Beirut, you're almost, you lose a tire, disappear into a black hole and reappear. No, I'm okay with Zoom meetings. But also, look, there is a flip side to it. The thing that I've enjoyed about us operating more so digitally is I'm taking on more clients outside the state of Michigan, more than I ever have before.
Yes.
Right. Because now I can interact with people in California. I can interact with people in North Carolina. I can interact with people in Mississippi, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas before it was impractical, right? Because we were of this old mindset where I got to take this flight, I take this drive. I have to basically lose 2 days going there and coming back, right? Whereas now I can jump on Zoom and have the same interactions. So no, I'm not going back. I just speak for myself personally.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think it's really important to, if you want to stay focused, right? And you said something that caught my attention. Look, that 5 a.m. wake up call, or whatever that time is for you, I think for most human beings, it's when you first wake up. I think that's when you have the most clarity. For most of us, assuming you're taking care of yourself and you're getting a decent amount of rest, whatever that may mean for you, that's when you have the most energy. And that's when you should knock down big projects. That's when you should eat the frog, right? Those 2 minute and 1 minute and 30-minute deals, save those for afterwards. But the big projects that require a lot of mental and psychological energy and focus, do it when you're most energetic, when your mind sharpest, right? And then that, once again, that goes back to something else that you can do to remain focused. Look, you're going to have to learn new skills, right? That's part of entrepreneurship. We are compensated commensurate with our ability to solve problems. And there are certain skills you're going to have to bone up on. You got to sharpen the saw in certain areas. I would encourage individuals to identify talents or identify knowledge that you need to incorporate into your business modus operandi in order to be more effective at what it is you do. I'm talking to business owners who, quite frankly, are uncomfortable with Zoom because they haven't figured out how to communicate emotion via Zoom. They haven't figured out how to do what I finally learned how to do, which is actually look at the camera as opposed to looking at you, right? That took me a while. But take inventory of 2 or 3 skills or talents you need to bone up on, do a deeper dive in, or even if they're new that you need to acquire, right, to be more effective. That's something to help you remain focused as well. Because once again, this can be the best or the worst of times. For those of us who are able to pivot, be creative, be focused, times of disruption is when people make gains, particularly those who are entrepreneurs. And you can just look at history. You can look at the Gates of the world. You can look at the Bezos of the world. You can look how you feel about them politically or whatever. I'm just saying from an entrepreneurial standpoint, right? You can look at the Buffetts of the world. You can look at these individuals who made serious gains and became immensely successful. And when you backtrack, you see it all happened during disruptions. The Mark Cubans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They took advantage of disruptions in the marketplace. And I guess that's why I'm so urgent about this right now, because I believe we have a window. I think we have a window of maybe another year or 2 before people finally adjust and get cemented and start doing things, a certain kind of way. Now's the time where you can be solving people's problems more than ever. And so, something I encourage, something I'm doing is I'm taking inventory. I'm asking myself, what are the things that you're not good at? Now, I'm not trying to become an expert at my weaknesses. I'm going to continue to delegate those. But what are the things that I'm really effective at now, like get better at? What are some issues that people are having where I know I have the skill set or the intellectual capacity to solve? And how can I acquire more information to become even more effective at that? That's a way to keep yourself focused in the game, right? So you're not distracted by whatever's transpiring outside. That's something that, I'd encourage individuals to spend some time on as I'm looking at my grocery list here. The other thing, look, your friends are going to start calling because they want to go out. They want to go to Miami. They want to be at the beach.
Right.
There's a number of superfluous discussions taking place online right now. Some of it is crazy as all get out. It's immensely entertaining. I have my YouTube channel is curated. So I only have certain people I follow and check for one of my YouTube channels. And I think it's crazy, right? Knowing that my YouTube channel is curated, knowing that I only search for certain things on that channel, nonsense is still popping up. It's like they know.
Yeah.
It's like they know. Let's put this BS.com, see if we can catch the attention for a moment, right? Well, more and more of that's going to start happening. And what I would share with you is this, and it's something I share often. Look, it's expensive to occupy the space behind my eyes, right? There's a cost to occupy my headspace. The rent is high. right? And part of that is positive discussions. Part of that is having discussions with people who are talking about solutions as opposed to problems. Part of that is talking to people who are optimistic about their future and progressive, as opposed to individuals who just want to complain all day long, right? I don't advocate that you diss people, right? Whether that be family, friends, your circle, whatever the case may be. But maybe you have to distance yourself from certain individuals, right? Entrepreneurship is not easy. And I've said it time and time again. It's not this nonsense where you go to YouTube, Instagram, you become an entrepreneur, money's going to fall from the sky like manna, and then your life is going to magically improve. That's not the way it works, right? You're swimming upstream as an entrepreneur. You're part of 10% of the population, probably another 3, maybe even 2% of the population that enjoys immense success at entrepreneurship. You got to be around other people, right? Are thinking the same thoughts, having the same conversations, reading, consuming the same things, because you're like a salmon swimming upstream. You're only a minority make it, right? And you got to make sure you're interacting with that minority. You got to be part of a club. You got to be part of an organization. You got to be in an environment that edifies and feeds your entrepreneurial soul and helps you stay focused, right? Find accountability partners. You know, for me, having a conversation with you, Rochelle, creates accountability, because I don't want to see you next week and have not achieved some of the things we talked about achieving the previous week, right? That creates accountability. Talking to other entrepreneurs who are having success and leveling up and achieving their goals creates accountability. You know, I am competitive, and I'm not competitive to a fault. I don't believe in competing necessarily against people. I believe that competition creates completion, right? You help each other, right? You set the bar higher and higher, as opposed to seeking out the minimum, making your minimum your maximum. When you're around achievers, your maximum is the maximum, right? Getting around those people and having those interactions are just so absolutely imperative. So don't fall into the fun club. Not yet. You know, take advantage of this period, take advantage of the disruptive moment. Trust me, there'll be time to play while other people are like in distress because they didn't do what they needed to do now.
Yeah. And I think that's something I would be shocked if any guest that we ever had did not articulate to some level the sacrifices that they had to make to get to where they are, right? But the silver lining of all those sacrifices is that it was whatever sacrifices they had to make was always worth it. It was always worth it for them, right? And in the short term, long run, whatever, right? And it also, those sacrifices were respected and benefited the people around them that stuck with them through those as well. So if, I completely understand the fear around, FOMO, I guess, a little bit of what's happening, but those that entrepreneurial or not, who are by your side and in your corner, who understand the sacrifices that you're having to make for whatever amount of time, it'll be better in the long run, right? It'll be better even in the short term. I agree that taking advantage of this time, because we are, even especially right now, we're in a limbo time where things are opening up, but they're not quite open up, and not everything's really quite back to or whatever it's going to be after this. So yeah, this absolutely isn't the time to stop quite yet.
Yeah, and another way of thinking about it too is I've stopped thinking about entrepreneurship in terms of sacrifice. I'm beginning more and more to think about it in terms of decisions, right? I could go out and acquire a new vehicle, car note, for the new car smell, so everybody will turn their heads and look and admire that piece of jewelry, right? Or I could get a vehicle, not pay a car note, keep my car insurance as low as possible, and save a good $3 to $5, maybe even $700 a month, right? Because when you pay for a car cash and it's paid off, that also drives down your car insurance, by the way, because they don't have to insure the value of that vehicle, right? It's paid off. They don't have to insure the loan. So be aware of that, right? So I can choose to drive not a hoopty, but a vehicle that doesn't turn heads. I can make that decision so I can stack that $300, $500, $700 a month and look up at the end of the year and have $9,600 cash to invest somewhere. Right? That's the difference. Making a decision to put yourself in a better position financially, or in a better position, however you want to think about it, right? I can make the decision to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning as opposed to the sacrifice but know that the majority of the work that I need to get done is done by one, while people are still scrambling like a chicken with their head cut off, fatigued and tired at 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. at night, right? It's a decision.
Right.
I can make the decision not to go out and blow 50, 60, $100 a pop, going out to the restaurant, hanging out with friends, drinking and eating. Instead, I can take that time and maybe invest it in my children, time with them instead. Or once again, invest it in acquiring a skill or acquiring a talent or some knowledge that I don't have, right? I try to not necessarily look at it in terms of sacrifices. Now, make no doubt about it, we're in the hurt game, right? I compare entrepreneurship to like boxing. Like, you don't play boxing. You can play basketball. You can play football. You can play a lot of them. You don't play boxing. Well, you don't play entrepreneurship if you're in it to win it, right? If 100% of your income is coming from your entrepreneur endeavor, you're not playing entrepreneurship. You made a decision to get in the hurt game. Okay. So you're going to have to be willing to hurt a little bit. You're not willing to grow outside your comfort zone, adopt different attitudes and behaviors that may be foreign to you, which can be painful psychologically, right? Do things. We say successful people do what unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. Like, sometimes your capacity to endure hurt more and longer is how you determine, is what will determine your success as an entrepreneur. So I don't want people to get it twisted here. Like, I'm not giving you some pie in the sky nonsense, but at the same time, understand that you're just simply making decisions, right? It doesn't have to be about sacrifice all the time. It doesn't have to be about a situation where you're depriving yourself. No, you're giving yourself a gift of financial independence. You're giving yourself a gift of peace of mind. You're giving yourself a gift of simplicity and not having to worry about competing with the Joneses and giving a rat's ass about what people think about you in terms of your attire or your appearances, right? When you get in that boardroom and when you walk into that meeting, you're eyeball to eyeball with them and you're more informed and more talented and more able than they are, and you get that deal instead of them. That's the type of jewelry you want to be flashing, right?
Right.
So those are the receipts. So, I mean, that's something I encourage entrepreneurs to consider as well.
Yeah,
right?
I see it sometimes. I've seen, instead of your to-do list, it's your get-to-do list, right?
Yes.
And I think that's another mindset shift that's helpful, is like, it's reminding yourself that you chose this because this is a life that feeds your soul, it feeds your future, it is better for you, and you're capable of doing it. So welcome the opportunity that you get to do these things that most of the rest of the population does not get to do, like, at all. Their days are decided for them. Their lives are decided for them. And some other, their income's decided for them. You get to have the opportunity to adjust that every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And, because you hit on this, right? There's a two issues: staying focused, but also taking the time that you need to take to recalibrate, re-energize after the rough and tumble year that's been, right? And, you've heard me say this a million times, but it's so true. I just believe it's difficult to put your life's energies behind a compromise, right? So I'm going to kind of go back to where I started, but elaborate even more. Take time to really get in touch with the things that you value, right? 9 times out of 10, if you're fatigued in your business, there's some incongruence somewhere, right? What is it that you value? What's most important to you right now? Is quiet time important to you right now? Or let's be real, let's be transparent. It's the nicer car. It's the nicer house. It's the nicer whatever piece of jewelry you want to have, right? Is that of greatest value to you right now? Is more time with the family of greatest value? Is time giving back, whether it be in your church or some other altruist endeavor? Is that what you value? Like, sit down and really ask yourself, what is it you value? What are the things that give you energy? Because look, at the end of the day, everyone else is already taken. Stop trying to be everyone else. Right. Don't calibrate your lifestyle and the things that matter most to you based on what your neighbor is doing or what you're watching someone talk about on Instagram or Facebook. Sit down for a moment and really ask yourself, what are the things that, once again, give you energy and give you a sense of purpose? Because when you have a sense of purpose and when you are putting your energies behind something that gives you energy, you don't get tired. I know it sounds cliche and tried, right? People say, well, if you find a thing you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's a lie. You're going to work. That's a common denominator of success.
Right.
But the bottom line is you will find that you have more energy to do the work
Mm-hmm.
if you're really enjoying it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So that's something I think people need to consider too. I think not only was the pandemic a disruption from an exterior standpoint, right, and what's transpiring around us, but it also caused disruption inside a lot of us personally. You start losing family and friends, you start seeing people experiencing financial hardships and emotional hardships, and it really forces you to take inventory of your life. And a lot of people, I firmly believe, were changed and altered. And I don't want to say irreparably, because that means something needs to be repaired, but maybe it shifted your value system a little bit. Maybe it shifted things in terms of what you prioritize and what you think is of most important. And you got to be willing to do a deep dive and take time with yourself to ask yourself those tough questions, and then look at your business endeavors and find out, okay, are these business endeavors congruent with the things that matter most to me now?
Yeah. Yeah. Truthfully, those long-term values, or those things that you value, they're probably still the same things you valued a year ago, right? They're still the same things you valued several years ago or when you started your business. But especially when we get into a period of time where we're head down, hustling, trying to just get, work done. This is definitely also, I agree, a time to lift your head back up and see, are you still on that path?
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess, I mean, truthfully, yeah, has the past shifted? Has the value shifted? I agree that, this year has just brought to light so many things very quickly of what you're going to be willing to put up with and what you're not going to be willing to put up with anymore, or also what you want out of life, what you don't want out of life, especially when we can see how quickly that life can be taken from you. So whether physically, financially, whatever, it's absolutely important to be connecting yourself with those values as often as you can, so that whatever path you're going on is still getting you to those same goals.
Mm-hmm. And I'm you just got me so focused now on this 5 a.m. thing too, right? Yeah. Look, taking time to work on your business is important too, right? 9 times out of 10, if you're fatigued as well, sometimes this means you're doing too much.
Yep.
And you need to ask yourself, like, what are the things that I can automate? Or who are the people that I need around me to execute on the goal or the plan, right? Taking time to ask yourself, because working on things, I understand how it can feel. It can feel like an inconvenience, right? Because you're like, I got to do what I need to do right now, these specific tasks, these specific goals. I got to meet this project deadline, got to help this client because this is the way I earn my income. But you also take time to work on your business to create efficiencies, right? Because if your head's down all the time, and that's the way you operate, and what you're basically going to start doing is taking on more and more tasks and more things to do on a daily basis because you're trying to meet the needs of everyone around you. You got to ask yourself, what can I do to work on my business? Yes, taking time to read that book or books is going to take time away from the every single day urgent matters, right? But once you're done consuming that information and you're more effective at a particular process, it actually buys you time, right? Waking up in the morning and asking yourself, what are the top 2 or 3 things that I need to get done today, this week, this month, this year? That process also buys you more time, right? Look, having a clear vision. One of the questions I ask every entrepreneur when I sit across the table from them via Zoom or belly to belly is, what you taking aim at? Why are you in business? What are you passionate about? If you can't answer those questions, what makes your business unique or what gives you energy in your business, you're going to have a hard time attracting people, right? Because there can be people around you with the skill sets, with the talent, with the desire to partner with you, but no one's going to join another person that isn't clear about their destination, right? Nobody wants to go along for a ride, right? To nowhere. Okay. So these things are things that you can do to work on your business. And yes, like I said before, it's going to take a little bit of time, but quite frankly, I view these things as an investment, right? And also these are the types of things that will keep you focused, right? Look, you don't have time to be on social media, comment about other people's lives when you're focused on yours. When you have a huge, big, hairy, audacious goal, you start behaving and moving and investing your time differently. When you have a big, huge, hairy, audacious goal, you don't spend money or your time on things that are frivolous because you're pursuing upon that goal, right? It's just like certain things you won't eat anymore or certain things you won't drink anymore if you have a goal to run a marathon, right? You just can't put the cookies and danishes and muffins in your body anymore if that's the goal. Well, the entrepreneur journey is akin to that, right? It's a marathon after a huge goal, and you start consuming things differently once you get really clear about the person you need to become and the things you need to do to be successful. That will focus you like nobody's business, right? If you take the time to do those things. So 5 a.m. in the morning, do those things.
One word I keep hearing coming up in both of us talking, whether it being in mentally, physically, emotionally, is just, and then even also economically with your business, is clarity. Clarity and provides the focus and productivity. So if you are not physically clear in the sense, or have clarity physically in the sense of like, you're not taking care of yourself to feel good, right? To feel efficient. If you're not mentally giving yourself these breaks where you need it, or the time for focus when you need it, then you're not going to be clear on what you need to get done or clear on how you need to move forward. And if you're not clear on where your business is going or why it's going or why it exists in the first place, then it's going to be just, trials and tribulations all down the road. But I think that's just like a common word. If you need one word to summarize this discussion of what has to happen to improve focus, to improve productivity, to improve all of it, is clarity in all aspects of your life, right? Because lack of clarity or lack of clearness in one area will then become very apparent, and push itself out, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever. So yeah, I keep going back to the word clarity, in everything. When you can create that space, mental space, physical space, all that kind of space for yourself, it allows yourself to grow.
And look, there's a cost to not doing these things, right? I'm having conversations with other B2B consultants, particularly individuals within the capital acquisition space. So whether these people are individuals who work for micro lenders, working for banks, maybe they're professionals that make a living going out and securing capital for business owners and pointing them in the right direction. Look, you're going to have a situation where we're going to look up 3 years from now, and a lot of these business owners have benefited from the PPP monies and the EIDL monies. They're going to be back to where they were before the pandemic and during the pandemic, right? They're going to be struggling again. And that is the cost to not addressing these issues. The cost is it's a grind, right? Look, the goal is not to pursue money. Money is just a tool. It's the fuel that you put in your business. The goal is to build the asset, right? And when you're first starting out as a team of me, the asset is you. You have to build you. When you grow from a team of me to a team of we, the asset becomes that business. And you need to be able to set up systems and processes, and you need to find, once again, clarity in terms of how that business is going to operate and what the goals and objectives are. And if you don't do these things, you're going to look up and you're going to be check to check. And I'm just going to be real. Like, if I want to live check to check, I'll go get a job.
Right.
I mean, straight.
Right.
If that's, go get a job and deal with the fear of check to check, right? But as entrepreneurs, we expend more energies than W-2s. Now, the rewards are greater when we do the right things, right? We have freedom. Hopefully you achieve a modicum of financial independence where you build your business to the point where it generates revenues, hopefully more often than not when your hand's not on the wheel. Those are the rewards, right? You pay the price now that people aren't willing to pay so you can live the dream life that people go to sleep and literally dream about, right? You can take the vacations later on. You can buy the things if you're about that life later on. You can give back to your community and to your family without having to worry about whether or not the money's coming back in return later on. You can pursue your passions, whether that's sitting on the porch, reading a book, sipping a wine, and walking off the porch and grabbing a mango and sitting down and eating that and watching your children play. If you got a little bit of insight what my vision is myself, there it is, right? You can do those things because you've got money as an issue out the way, right? But you're going to work hard because you're asking for more than what a W-2 would normally receive. So, for me, I personally have a hard time dealing with entrepreneurs who aren't willing to do these things. Because if you don't, you've just created a long-term job for yourself, a never-ending job.
Yes.
Right. And part of the reason why I chose entrepreneurship, I think part of the reason why the majority of people I work with have chosen entrepreneurship is we're not afraid of hard work. Right. We're not afraid of the hurt game. What we want is something to show for it. Right. We want something to show for it. So if you're going to do this thing in such a way where you have something to show for it. Right. I want entrepreneurs to think bigger.
Yeah.
I want entrepreneurs to know that the people that you revel at and that you quote unquote, I hate to use this word, but it's the truth, that you worship on the television set and on the radio stations, on these podcasts, they're not smarter than you.
Right.
Hey, they're not. They don't work harder than you. Their blood is not thicker than yours. It's just they have different habits. They think about the world differently. They operate differently. And more importantly, I was looking at, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but I was watching his evolution. I looked at some of his podcasts or his YouTube vlogs from 5 years ago. And Rochelle, I felt so good about NextOppSocial. Woo! I was looking, I was like, man, this dude sucks, I mean, it was bad, but I watched his evolution and he just kept doing it. He kept practicing. I could tell from listening to his language, he was reading more. He was focusing more on his craft. I could tell he was becoming more effective at solving the problems that he was taking aim at in his business, and that he was kind of chronicling on his vlog. And then I looked at him today and I said, that's what I'm talking about, right? So his vlogs are crisper, they're cleaner, the content is much more effective, more solutions oriented, and the universe is rewarding him for that, right? And I know people are looking at him today. They see him today. This guy is knocking down 6 figures, sometimes on a monthly basis, based on his business ventures and what he has going on online, right? But he started from a place, a very entertaining place. I'm gonna send you some of the footage I'm talking to you about. I was like, whoa, we are doing swell, Rochelle. Whatever we start complaining about, what's going on? Trust me. But that's what it's all about, right? Now, I'm not about that life. I'm not gonna spend money on that stuff, but he has a jet. Now he talks about it in his vlogs. He's able to take weeks off, long vacations and spend time doing whatever it is he wants to do. Now he has something to show for it. Right. And I guess I'm going hard because I'm thinking about some of the conversations I've had over the last couple of days. I'm gonna stop before we go over an hour and be, but I've been having conversations with these entrepreneurs, and they're just not thinking big enough. Right. It's like you took that W-2 mindset and you own a business, but you put that W-2 mindset in that business. You gotta adopt a 1099 mindset. There's enough money in the world. Stop talking like that. There's enough money. There's more money than there is cars, people, coffee. There's money out there. There's capital available. Capital flows to where the solutions are at. There's enough. There's enough people out there. There's enough talent, whether you're looking for people to work in your company or whether you're looking for enough people to partner with. There's enough talent out there, Detroiters, right? We were talking about this last week. I don't want to hear this. There are not people out there to work in my company. No, that's the same argument that corporate America had for years, or there's not enough people of color. There's not enough African Americans, Asians, whatever, out there who have talent to work in our company. We can't find, and it's not that no, they're not out there. You don't know how to find them.
Correct.
You don't know how to market yourself and create environments of opportunity for individuals who look different than you, right? For the entrepreneurs out there, you have to think critically about what does my platform say about my business to attract those individuals who are willing to go to work. I know too many people right now who are underemployed that will take even a minimum wage job right now, who have good work ethic, great talent, and a willingness to go to work. I know who these people are because I deal with some of them who got slapped down during the pandemic, right? You got to have a mindset of plenty and abundance. Yep. And I can't say that think bigger, right? Some of these business owners, I'm talking to you because I know some of you are listening to this and watching this periodically. You are, if you've been in business longer than 10, 15 years, you need to heed these words, right? It's time for you to scale. It's time for you to get beyond where you're at. All right, I'm done preaching. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll end it with our asks. Our ask. And I think one ask that, especially with what you were ending with, I really want to encourage people that if you're watching, we do now have a Facebook community group called NextOppSocial, the After Show, where we want to continue this discussion. And I think very importantly, so if you go to our Facebook page, it's NextOppSocial on Facebook, you'll see in the community section this group, the After Show. And I think what I really want to hear from people is, what are you, not just what are you taking away from this, but what are you shifting? What are you changing? What are you doing to improve that clarity, to improve that focus, to work on what scaling looks like now, right? I want to hear the specific things that you're doing. And Juan and I will also share in there as well what we're specifically doing to help with that for ourselves and with NextOppSocial as well. So, as always, you're welcome to leave comments here on YouTube and share this as well. But we do want to, encourage a real community effort of share this with other people who can probably benefit as well from what action you're taking, especially if someone's listening to this and they're still feeling stuck. They're still not sure what to do yet. We need to hear some of that action from you as well.
I concur 100%.
All right. Well, on that note, we will also leave the link in our YouTube notes of where that community group is so that you don't have to keep searching for it. We'll put the link directly in there.